top one forward, bottom one back. Third wave, a point of view.
It's a point of view.
Hold on. Welcome. Say hello. All right.
You know, when you present a point of view and you're asked to look at the clock straight away, it's not a great thing. You know, you think you need a lot more time. So I'll try and be a little concise, very happy to answer questions, talk through the, couple of days that we have at hand as we go on. But the thought process that we have, and why does Tata stand here? I think it's a very quick setting the context. I work for Tata Consultancy Services. Tata Consultancy Services is in the IT and services business. We are about $17 billion group, part of the Tata group, which is over $100 billion. But within that, we have a media practice and a telecom practice. I look after that piece. And as a part of that, we work very closely with local search organizations. In my previous life, I was with Yell and Haibu, worked very closely with them for over a decade. And with that comes this point of view or this thought process that what does the future hold? Is the future really here? Are we ready for the future? What can we do to make sure that we remain relevant as the changes come by? Before we look at it, it's always good to see the rear view and see what's happened, right? And these are a few things that I don't even have to explain to you. We've prolonged print. We've focused on that. It was the cash cow. It's continuing to fuel the digital transformation. Very important to make sure that we are able to, keep that going as we start taking the initial digital baby steps that we took a few years ago. We had to clearly separate legacy and digital and start saying, this is where the future is. Let's start creating a logical separation between the two. And find a way for the market to see what we are really bringing to the market and how these two are different, but both are designed to enable them to move forward. And obviously, the real focus over the last few years has been how to build a sustainable digital business. It's gone through many changes, but still, we are providing leads and tracking ROI and trying to tell that small business that it is relevant to work with us. We will provide you the return on investment. With this look in the rear view, let's look at what are the challenges that digital has brought in. When we talk about digital challenges, I'm sure you will talk about a lot of things that are there. What do we bring in? What are the products? What should we have? What shouldn't we have? But when we went digital, there were a few challenges that came, that cropped up along the way. And one of them was real-time service. Customers do expect service to be real-time, which wasn't the case in the print world or in the legacy world. And that's something we had to adapt. We had to bring into our business. We had to understand. And today when we talk about voice and artificial intelligence, it's primarily stemming out of this particular need for real-time. Customer experience has become another key bit, right? Ensuring that they have a best-in-class customer experience has become an imperative in our business models today. Churn, at least we could lock them in for a year with a book. We can't do that with a digital product. It's tougher to do that. You've got competition that's coming from spaces, nooks and corners and garages is how I'd like to say it. And we need to be aware of what's happening and be nimble enough to be able to manage that. Be aware that the customer could churn very, very quickly. And the same old question, right? How do I prove ROI consistently? How do I communicate that return on investment consistently to ensure that the SME sees value in what we deliver as a service? The other piece that really, has, many of the CEOs that I speak to, especially in Europe, tell me is that we are being compared beyond local search. We are being compared to the other services that we have in the world, whether it is a restaurant app, whether it's a food app, whether it's a food delivery app, whether it's there's a service called Practo, which is for doctors. So we are finding competition coming in beyond purely local search. And when I talk about being compared to others, I think one of the key things we get compared to is the Uber experience, or the Uber as a company. So let's look at some of the key features that Uber really brings. And here, when I talk about Uber and Uber's experience, I'm focused more on their driver partners, because we are focused on the SMEs. So I'd like to draw a parallel between the driver partner of Uber and the SME. Uber says, I have a best-in-class platform for you. You have no cost to enroll. I will promote you, that is the driver partner promoting you as me there, because it matters to Uber, right? It matters. I will promote you because you doing well is important for me. And they will get that driver partner customers. They will find customers, and they will put that customer in his car, and they'll share revenue. Now, this is the experience that is why I'm sitting down and saying that providing leads over a period of time is going to become insufficient. I think the small and medium enterprises are sitting down and saying, is it possible for you to provide me deals? Can you make sure that this is business and I share revenue of business with you? Don't tell me that I have to speculate when I invest with you. Can I share my revenue with you when you actually get me money in my cash register? It is seen as a win-win, and I put a question mark there by choice. It's a win-win because the guy who's the driver partner or the SME sees I end up sharing revenue when I have it. For us, it's an opportunity to have a much higher revenue if we are successfully able to execute this, because you're no longer restricted in what you can earn from a small and medium enterprise, because if he buys X size of an ad, he buys a website of a certain size, it doesn't stop you there. It probably has a much higher upside. The question is, can we get the model right? So what's required if we have to turn from a caterpillar to a butterfly and start soaring? I believe that when I talk about this and when I talk about providing people leads or deals, they say, oh, are you trying to say we've got to compete with an Amazon? Are we trying to create a marketplace? And I keep saying, no. What we need to create is a pervasive platform, a platform that can provide most of what an SME needs to be able to make themselves visible, to get them the leads, and also to be able to transact when somebody finds the right product on that particular platform. So what will we do? We'll build their digital persona. I like to use it that way because it's no longer restricted to just a website. There's a lot more to their digital persona today. It also includes social media. So if I were to tell them, if you were a small and medium enterprise, for a moment forget that you're from the other side of the table, if you say that I'll come and create your digital persona, I will manage your social media presence for you. And I will provide you with business tools as well as a part of my platform. I will provide you ability to manage your inventory. If it's a service company, I will allow you to schedule stuff. If it's a product based, I'll provide you catalogs on which you can build and actually host your products online. And I will help you transact. I will help you get a cost-effective payment gateway. This is one of the biggest challenges that small and medium enterprises have when they try transacting by themselves or setting up a payment gateway themselves. Can we have a common gateway that we can bring in? And by bringing in this common gateway, is there a way for us to ensure that people get a lower cost per transaction? And that lower cost per transaction will be one of the key hooks to make this possible. We've tested this out in different markets. Forgive me for not being more specific, but we have tested this out, and there is a key value that can be unlocked, especially when you consolidate and provide a common payment gateway. And like I said with most of my slides till now, a win-win, share of revenue, share of the spoils. When he thinks that you're going to take a share of the spoils, very quickly you have somebody who thinks you are as invested in him as he is in his own business, and that should help us bring that business and scale it much quicker. A quick illustration. This is my favorite slide. Think about it this way. A mother needs a red dress for her daughter. There's this particular kind of red dress that she wants. Typical today, she goes onto an online site. She's unable to know whether it fits the size, it doesn't, whatnot. So they want to go to a local store to be able to buy it. Mom doesn't have the time to drive around the country to the 5 or 6 kids' wear store that she knows that might have this. And we dads are always making excuses of golf or business, and we don't help out anyways. And even if I did go and pick up a red dress, it would be the wrong color. So having said that, so she does that. What does she do? She can search, find, and block it online. Now, I haven't said that she will come to your marketplace, but she will look for it. And if we manage the digital persona right, and we allow her to search properly, she will land up to this website, she will find it. And when she lands on this website, she will know that she can put this item on hold in that system. Right? So she goes there, she selects this red dress and says, hey, I like this, can you hold it to me? Let's say 24 hours. So instead of going to 6 stores, she's now able to look for it online, she's found the product, she's put it on hold, and it's under her username, it's blocked. In the inventory system, because we provide the inventory system, we have, sorry, I've just gone a little ahead, but doesn't matter. Since I told you in the previous slide that the inventory system and the financial system is also tied in, it's blocked as well, so nobody else can walk into the store and just pick that out over the next 24 hours. That's the small risk that the businessman takes. But I believe that where we've tried this out and where we've run certain studies, we've found that businesses are more than willing to hold on to it for a fixed period of time, because they do believe that those convert into guaranteed business more often than not. The payment, obviously, she visits the store the next morning and buys it. The payment is processed through the gateway, and when the payment is processed through the gateway, the cost of transaction, obviously, is lower. Now, we're all suckers for points. Here I have a question. How many of you have less than 8 loyalty cards? 6? Less than 6? Average, by the way, across the world is about 8 to 9 loyalty cards. So if you have lower than that, you have a higher sense of privacy probably, that you don't want to leave your data out. But otherwise, generally, people love loyalty points, and they can do that. Now, this is one of those places where, because they transact through the payment gateway in a certain way, you could effectively change your tires up the street, take those points down to the barber, and get a haircut for free. Things like that, if you're able to build in, it creates an ecosystem that makes people want to come and look for these businesses over a period of time through your search engine, through your digital property, and then you start tying them back to this particular ecosystem to be able to make sure that people stay with you, people grow with you, small businesses start looking to transact more and more through you. Complicated solution, some might think, but the solution stack is not really so complicated. You think about great experience on web assets. We do most of it today. It's not too different from what we already have in our pipelines if we already don't do it. So this is there, right? Driving traffic, we're doing it in multiple ways. We can find ways to do that in a cohesive manner for all businesses. That's also there. Many of the platforms that we have today, I was talking to Guy a short while ago, and Guy said from Web's Planet was telling me that they're launching, you said Cosmos, isn't it? Yeah, so he was talking about Cosmos, and I was talking to a few others, and everybody sat down and said, we are looking at providing more than the ability to build, manage, and drive traffic to web assets, right? So it's there. It's about how you bring that in. A shared payment gateway, not too complicated today. A few years ago, it was a lot more complex. I think technology has made it possible to do that more and more. In certain Asian markets, you may have a challenge to do that, given it may still be a less digital payment economy. It might like to do a lot more cash transactions. So there is a challenge there. I acknowledge that. But I do believe that that's changing very, very quickly. And it's time we are ready for the time that those changes happen. The complicated piece in my mind is how to build, administer, and manage the loyalty scheme or the loyalty system, the point system, and how do you manage that. That's going to be a little tricky. It'll need a little bit of thinking and customization to the markets that you come from. But if you're able to do that, you will increase the stickiness of the customer. And once the customer feels that they're getting that value from you, they will hopefully keep coming back. So am I suggesting, or is this whatever I'm looking at, is this utopia? Am I suggesting something that's very difficult to implement? I don't think so. I think sometimes we tend to overcomplicate things because we think we need to do everything ourselves. This is something I said at the last year's presentation as well. I said there is a need for collaboration, and I'm really calling for collaboration. I'm asking you guys to start coming together and seeing, is there a way for all of you from different countries to come together, collaborate, create a center of excellence to make this happen for each of your country? That's something for you guys to think about. I can only sow the seeds of thought. Second, there are technology companies across the spectrum, right? There are people from, we look at all of them here. They have already kind of put most of this together for you. There may be some missing pieces, but with today's, the way technology is built, most of it is plug and play. And rather than trying to create everything yourself, you could bring them together and try and see if you can get these plug and play things put together to create that ecosystem. Home services, and I had an opportunity to talk to some of the key leaders in Google a few months ago. And you may be aware that they have started this little home services business. They acquired a company, and they effectively are trying to tell customers you can search for home services, especially in the US right now. You can search for it. They will provide you somebody who, they will run the ads through for the people who advertise via home services and give them better placement. They actually go on to tell the customers that these are verified listing. Effectively, they are trying very, very hard to steal our bread. So when you're looking at that, it's required that we stay ahead. The reason why home services isn't caught up, in my view, is because Google still wants self-service to be done, and it's hugely self-service driven. The local search, the small and medium businesses are averse to trying to do this, at least right now. When the younger generation completely takes over, probably they'll be open to more self-service. But at the moment, that's one of the large hurdles that Google has, because they want the SMEs to self-serve, and the SMEs aren't taking it up as quickly as they would like. But they are working on this very, very hard. I've had a few meetings with them, and trust me, they are pumping in quite a large amount of money to try and see if they can crack this business, because as we all know, this is one of those places where they have not been successful as much as they would have liked. It's about creating equal partners. So if you think that the risk of setting this up is high, and this is my personal view, it's my point of view, is that if you can come together, let's say there's a Malaysia there, there's Singapore, there's Myanmar, you all come together and say, all right, we'll create this, we'll work at this together, we will reduce the risk for each of us, but we will try and take these offerings into our countries, which will be very similar, which will have solution stack, but we can always customize it. Like I said, the loyalty program could be a little more customized to each country. The payment methodology could be a little more customized. But if you can, generally the other real pieces of this jigsaw are out there, and it'll just take a little bit of technology and thought process to bring it all together to start becoming an orchestra. Each piece of this orchestra, the single musical instruments, are very much present, and almost present just in this room. So we don't even have to go further and look too far to find it. And I will wrap up by saying, can we all jointly win this? I believe we can. I think we've got to start looking beyond what we see today, beyond the horizon a little. We need to start viewing this as a must-have, not a nice-to-have. I do believe that when I talk about this as the third wave of change, this is going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. It's a question of when and where will it happen faster. I do believe that there are certain other countries where it might happen faster, but today, with digital disruption, the change does not take time to roll over. It comes in much quicker, and being prepared for it and being ahead of the game can be a huge differentiator. And I do believe that if you guys put your mind to it and you can put your might together into it, there is an easy win for all of us. That's me. Thank you.
We'll get them answered, and we do have one over here. Do we have a microphone floating around?
There's somebody right behind you.
Yeah. Just
the service category. So I can't get my head around, the example you used was great because it was for a specific item, retail. Talk us through the example, not leads, but to your point about solution-based, that's an ROI and sharing in the revenue on a service category.
All right, I hope I got your question right. So your question was effectively two parts. One is on how does it work in the services side, and then how does the share of revenue happen? Yeah? So on the services side, effectively their inventory is time, right? So if you really look at a services company, their inventory is really the time they have. So if you're able to provide them the ability to schedule appointments and actually take payments as while it is scheduled, or at the point of delivering the service right there at the doorstep, using a digital payment methodology, you are basically answering that. So if it's a plumber, you could book that plumber's time at 10:30 on Monday morning, rather than having to call him, ask him, he's got his calendar available. That's one. You could book your dentist appointment, for example, very easily using things like this. But when you do that, with certain higher-end services, the thought process, and these, again, these will vary from country to country, but the thought process is for medical profession, especially dentists and the other, it might just be like a price per appointment booked. For certain other businesses, it might be a percentage of the transaction. So it's going to vary. The key bit that we saw, and I'm going to talk about a US example here, forgive me for going so far away, but the cost per transaction through an individual gateway could be as high as 6 to 7%. Whereas if with a combined payment gateway or a common payment gateway, it's a very small fraction of that. So even that differential, which includes the digital management and driving the leads for you and the rest of it, is a very strong revenue line. If you want more, I will talk through. But this is effectively how it is visualized.
anyone else? I wanted to ask you about, you mentioned, the self-service and sort of the generational shift that will enable self. Is it just generational shift, or is there some advancement in self-service functionality that has to take place for really, for adoption to really take off? Because you could argue that there's some places where self-service is already happening in a fairly widespread manner, but it tends to be fairly simple, fairly low cost.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think the question is, when you ask them to do self-service for something much more simpler,
Yeah.
they're ready to do it. But I think even with the generational shift, there are certain elements that they wouldn't want to do. They wouldn't mind having a service provider provide it to them, because they're more focused on their business, and this is not their business. I'm sure you guys have an event management people set things up for you. It's not your business, it's theirs. So I think there are certain places where if you could go and do it yourself, you will do it as long as it's very simple, which may be a hotel booking. But if I wanted a customized itinerary for my trip at Siem Reap, I might want to go to somebody else who can work that out for me. I think that's how I view it, Charles. But younger generation is more than happy to experiment and try, whereas the older generation just doesn't have the patience for it, probably, or the skills for it. So it depends on how this will work out. I think certain industries you might find, for example, in the designer space, people who are very artistic in nature, we're already seeing that they don't want to outsource their digital assets. They want to do it themselves. But there are certain other industries. A dentist doesn't want to have anything to do with his website. He just wants it managed for him. So I think it's also a little bit based on the industry that we would be targeting.
Okay. Anyone else have a question? Now, this collaboration you're talking about, I guess I'm a little curious what structure you think that would
I don't know. I mean, I was giving this a thought, and I said, you're working in your own country, and if I were to be the local search leader in Malaysia, there was a local search leader in Indonesia, there was a local search leader in Myanmar, does it make sense for us to kind of come together, put this, co-invest into a small little think tank, so to speak, build this model through, work with different partners, do that evaluation to bring the right set of plugins together, and then take it together to the markets, because one, it reduces your risk of your investment, all of you, reinventing the wheel over and over again. It helps bring in different views so that, something that you couldn't think of, probably the guy from the other country will be able to help and think through it. So you're all here together, you're collaborating. Why don't you take it to one level up? It's not too, I'm not talking about a very complicated setup here. I'm talking about like-minded people coming together for a common goal, designing it together, and then kind of holding on to the spoils at least for some time, so that kind of ecosystem that they will build together gives them that leg up in their own geography.
So it's not a committee, because committees don't get very much done. It's
no, that's not what I meant.
It's investing in a startup.
It could be an investment into a smaller startup, which all of them, let's say 3 companies come together, 33% held together, they invest into it, they put up a business plan, build this, and then use it in their geographies, and then hopefully, when it is successful, take it to other geographies and earn from that as well. So one, it reduces the risk, obviously. That was my thought process, because lots of time when I talk to customers, they're sitting down and saying, I'm running this business, margins are tighter, this is happening, there's so much change, it's tough to invest, it's, how do I do it? Collaborate. You're here together, you're all working together, this is the digital world, it's possible to collaborate without having to fly left, right, and center all the time. Let's make it happen. And it is possible. Okay. At least that's my point of view.
Okay, we have time for one more quick question? I guess I'll ask one more quick question.
Sure, Charles.
You talk a lot about customer experience. It's a theme I talk about a lot increasingly. There's a cultural component to delivering good customer experience, and that may be the hardest part of it. Well, I mean, how easy for a company that maybe is sales-driven or just not customer experience-driven to suddenly just one day wake up and be all about the customer experience? I mean, is that realistic? Given some of the NPS scores for companies that are known for giving great customer experience, I mean, how do you even begin to compete with that?
There's no shortcut. I think, I've had customers that have had negative NPS sit down and really make that a part of their key, key deliverable by the CEO. They worked out strategy, invested into it, and built that culture first within the organization. I think it's very, very important, because over a period of time, there is a certain kind of culture that pervades the organization, and if you want to change that, you've got to start from inside. There is a telecom company whose net promoter score was close to -45. It's now at +15.
How long did that take?
And we've been working very closely with them on that. It's been a 3-year journey. That's been a very quick journey. That's probably the fastest that I have seen. But they went ahead and made some very key changes internally first. We worked very closely with them to look at which were those moments of truth, and how do we make sure that those moments of truth are first addressed. How do we make sure that those moments of truth are the best experience possible? Because clearing out the rest, I mean, the 80-20 rule, if you want to use that as an analogy, but if you could address that, as soon as we addressed that, we saw the NPS really shoot up quite significantly. And most of it wasn't about going out into the market. It was about key little things. There was a place where they wouldn't do something for 21 days because that's the turnaround time. By bringing that down to 9 without any additional cost, mind you, you just changed the whole perception. So suddenly they saw that this giant was no longer lumbering along. It was sprinting. And that changed the perception of people, and they started looking at it much more positively.
Okay. All right, I guess we'll have to leave it there. Please join me in thanking Ponnanna.
Thank you so much.
All right. So we have Duran and Abdulado from DPC and Web's Planet coming up next.